The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Let's start there. First point, and I have a few points, and I'm starting early because I have a guest coming on at 7 a.m. Kevork Almazian from Syrian Analysis will be on at 7, so I want to get this out of the way before he gets here. First point, our own government assesses that Iran is not trying to build a nuclear weapon. So right off the bat, false pretense of operations. Meaning the entire premise of we can't allow Iran to get a nuke sounds a lot like weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. False pretense. Okay, well, that's interesting, right? The continued escalation in regards to terms of what Donald Trump wanted, where he couldn't even articulate exactly what he wanted, and he was all over the place. All right off the bat, if you do that, then you're telling me that you're not really interested in a deal, and you are continuously pushing what you want beyond the horizon that you know your opposition is going to accept. Rational man, me, looks at that and says, Donald Trump is not really looking for a deal, he's looking for a war. If the president of the US continuously says, we are going to bomb, there are pretty nice people there, but we're going to bomb if we can't come up with a deal, and then you don't even write down what you want, and you push further and further and further out anytime you get close to anything, rational man says he's not looking for a deal. You have false pretense of negotiations, or the very least reason for negotiations. 2, you shouldn't even really be a part of the negotiations. Let's be very honest. But 3, you can't even articulate what you want. And when you do articulate, you're all over the place. And it's beyond the horizon of what you know your opposition would accept. 3, context. We've seen Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria all fall. And all of those things fell as a direct result of U.S. actions in the region. Either using Israel as a proxy, or for that matter, having the U.S. directly militarily intervene. Rational man looks at that and says, the wolves are at the gates of Iran. The monsters are at the door. Rational man. Now, other people will come on the show and will give a rational argument of, oh, wait a minute, that just seems bad. That doesn't seem like a good idea. I don't think Israel is going to really do that. I mean, Donald Trump is not going to allow. And what would rational man say? Rational man looks at it and says, you all are wrong. Ideologues are not looking at the world through rationality. Ideologues often get it wrong. And not just get it wrong to get it wrong because their view of reality is so dim and racist that it doesn't necessarily take into account real physical matter, reality. So when they look at Ukraine or let's say Russia, they say, Russia is Nigeria with snow, and we can just knock it over by using Ukraine as a battering ram, and it fails miserably, then it should tell you something about the way they look at the world. The Nazis looked at the world in the same way. We could knock over the Soviet Union, it'll fall apart. What happened in both of those situations? Both failed miserably. And I'm saying the same thing was true in the way that the United States, and yes, I'm saying the US, because Israel is only a proxy of America. Israel can't do anything. The very air Israel breathes is given to it by the United States of America. If 80% of the bombs, weapons, if Trump is transferring intelligence, transferring weapons before the attack, then obviously the United States is directly involved and believe that this was their opportunity to knock over Iran. Racist people don't look at the world as it is. They look at it through their lens. All of us do to some degree, but the reality of it is, we get closer to reality, even if we can't ever touch it. But racist people are looking at it purely through the lens of sociopaths. How can we knock over that government? And is this the opportune time to do it? In their minds, yes. 4th or 5th point, I don't even know which point I'm on, but next point. What's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word. Impunity. When you go 2 years, and I'm starting on this before getting into what has been taking place because I need to set the context. The context is important. When you go for 2 years murdering women, children, burning children alive, when you are bombing hospitals, when you are starving people to the tune of millions, and then shooting those starving people in the back and the face when those starving people go to get food, when you take glee out of it, dancing as people die, setting up parties to watch people get bombed, civilians get bombed. When you are doing all of this stuff and it's all on camera, you're not even hiding it. Does it not build a certain sense of impunity that you can do whatever you want? And so you go into Syria, you go into Lebanon, you destroy elements of the West Bank, you murder civilians in Gaza, and you put those civilians in death camps. You do all of that stuff, and the entire world watches you. And then you look at Iran and you say, this is the time. This is the time to strike. The world has let us do all of this for all of these years, and nobody got involved. This is an opportune time to strike. Now, I pointed out that the monsters were at the gates, that the rational argument doesn't apply. And more beyond the rational argument doesn't apply, the argument that I had with Sarah, and I was right, by the way, and she told me I was right, so thank her for that. That just because you don't fight for various pragmatic reasons doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to do so. And that Iran, who has been preparing for a war with the United States for 20 years, especially after looking at Iraq fail, is not overly worried by a country of 8 million people. Iran is a country of 80 million people. And so when you're looking at that and you're looking at a war that they've been preparing for 20 years against a superpower, and you get this little colony of squatters who now decides they're going to strike. I said the monsters were at the gates. I said that Iran is more powerful than I think people realize. And lo and behold, last week, Israel attacked unprovoked. And not just attacked unprovoked, hit decapitation strikes, trying to murder the leadership and the military leadership and the scientific leadership of Iran with this belief that this was going to somehow diminish the will of the Iranian population as opposed to harden the will of the Iranian population. You had groups that were inside Iran that were causing chaos, preventing a retaliation or the strike from happening immediately in retaliation for what Israel was doing. You had all of this stuff taking place all at once. A coordinated strike internally and externally on Iran. And your humble hosts lost it because your humble hosts full well believed that when they were doing True Promise 2, they should have kept going and turned that colony into glass. I didn't take that point of view because I didn't believe Iran didn't have the capability. I took that point of view because I knew they had the capability of doing it, or the very least strongly believed, and that for various pragmatic reasons that they pull back. The thing is that all of the pragmatism, all of the appeasement has only brought you to the place that you were trying to avoid coming to. And so here we are. We are at war. Israel got the first strike, but Iran has been decimating Israel. And to make this point clear, this is what is happening in Gaza right now. Israel has not stopped its attacks on Gaza. In fact, it's expanded them. They've killed 50, 60 people over the course. They've been doing this for 2 years. So what I'm about to show you is called comeuppance. It's called comeuppance. It's a country that believed it could act with impunity and ran into a buzzsaw. Every bit as much as I said they were going to run into a buzzsaw. And they are out here begging Donald Trump for help, begging Netanyahu, showing up out of a bunker, begging at the height of his lungs, coming up, oh, they're going to give Houthis nuclear missiles. Well, you just heard Tulsi Gabbard say they weren't making nuclear missiles. So, okay, that's a lie. Oh my God, they tried to kill Trump. He's saying any and everything in his power to try to get the U.S. in to save his ass for something that the U.S. pushing him provoked, an unprovoked attack. So if I'm showing a bit of glee at Israel getting decimated and taken apart, that is the context of my glee. For me, this is called justice. Killing a Nazi is not a negative thing. And if the Israeli government doesn't want to believe in good sense, ethics, morality. If they don't believe these things have been tossed to the wind. If they can murder women and children, burn kids alive, if they can do all of these things, then from my point of view, that dog needs to be put down. And for better or for worse, Iran has taken it as the job of civilization itself to do the world a favor and to do just that. This is what has been taking place over the course of the last couple of days. When I say Iran has unleashed, I mean it in the most literal of terms. Tel Aviv has never experienced anything like this, and this will be in their bones for however long it exists. So, right here, let's start here. This is Tel Aviv. Those are explosions landing on cities in Tel Aviv. Let's keep going because there's more. This is Iran launching some of the missiles. Keep in mind, these attacks have been going on for the last several days, so these videos may be interlaced with several days. All right, let's fast forward. Let's see these actually. Well, let's do this. Hit the targets.
Wow. הנה עוד אחד. יו! וואו. הנה עוד אחד. יו!
Again, that's Tel Aviv. It's not Gaza. That's Tel Aviv. Let's keep going. There's more. It's like God himself dropping rods from the sky. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Supposed to be showing this one. Unstoppable. Unstoppable. Looks like the Iron Dome needs an Iron Dome, right? There's more. Let's go to the next one. This is close up at the launch. Don't really need to see that one. Here's more of Tel Aviv getting decimated. I think I've shown that one in another video. Let's go to the next one. This, a view of it from below. Just in case you had the unfortunate position of sitting there. Let's go to another one. This is also Tel Aviv after the strikes.
Yo.
It's as if. Oh, there's more. Just to be clear, these are not limited to Tel Aviv. I'm just showing you what's been happening to Tel Aviv over the last few days. Here is, again, more of Tel Aviv getting taken apart after the fact. Burning, just burn. Let's keep going. There's more. Come on, shut up. When it does that, let's go to the next one. This is what Israel looks like today. When they woke up in the morning, they woke up to this. Looks like Gaza, doesn't it? Once again, this is not limited to Tel Aviv. This is Haifa. I call this the lights out shot. That's what I call this. Haifa is one of the main ports in regards to economic activity, also oil production, energy production. Lights out. Lights out. Lights just immediately went out. See it again. I see it again. Bam. Lights out. Let's keep going. There's more. This is the port. Let's keep going. There's more. This is, I think I've shown this one. Okay, so I'm not going to show this one. I showed the one in the last one where hypersonic missile hit Haifa. This is the Weizmann Institute. This is kind of like their MIT. Look at what happens to this. Wrecked. Wrecked. Yep. Bam. And more fall in the background. Now, as I pointed out before, there have been far more of these that have gotten hit. The catch is Israel has put a very strong military censorship in place because they didn't necessarily want to show all of the targets that were effectively being blown up all across the country itself. And so Iran has been picking their shots and hitting their targets, hypersonic missiles. And this is with the US and some of the other Quisling governments working tirelessly to try to knock those missiles out of the sky before those missiles hit. It is also need to be clear that these are the old missiles that Iran had stockpiled, not their newest. So it's almost like they went through their old missiles first in order to drain the air defense, in which case they can now hit with drones, hypersonics, and many of the other missiles in the daytime even. Hence the begging that Netanyahu is doing, trying to get the United States into the war. It's as if they believe that murdering starving women and children was the same thing as a proper war. And now that they're in a proper war, they're sitting in bunkers crying, oh my God, we've never heard anybody. I can't believe that this is happening to us. No, really, there are videos of Israelis. Oh my God, why is this happening to us? We've never heard anybody. We've never done anything. Okay, fair enough. The Nazis and the people in Germany had the same thought. Oh my God, why are the Soviets rummaging through Germany like this? We were just so nice people. We weren't doing anything. Okay, sure. The Mossad agents, or at the very least some of them, that were setting off explosives, setting off drones, et cetera, some of those people were caught. And the labs in some of those cases were caught. Here are two guys who just got caught in one of the trucks. I'm not a psychic, but I can tell you, these guys will have a very bad night. That's assuming they're still alive. A very, very bad night. The Israeli forces caught these guys. And not just these guys, there's videos of Iranians on a motorcycle trying to chase down a truck of drone parts. That has also taken place. So there's that. Now, I'm not going to show you Netanyahu begging because I hate his voice. So I'm not going to show that part. I will say that it is a war. And Israel has also been doing strikes on Iran. But it seems that Israel's strikes are getting weaker and the air defense is getting weaker, whereas Iranian strikes are remaining consistent and just keep happening. So Israel will hit a building. They will hit civilians. That's the other part I want to point out. Iran and those missile strikes have not killed many Israeli civilians. You might get 20, 30. There's some people in the rubble. But Israel has been taking out that many people by one strike alone. And as somebody pointed out on Twitter, it's very weird that Iran can hit their targets without murdering 100 civilians to do it. It is weird, ain't it? It's almost as if Israel was killing people on purpose. This goes to Donald Trump. If you remember when the attacks first happened, the unprovoked attack, Trump was bragging. Oh, I promise. I told Iran that they needed to do this, and I told Iran that they needed to do that, and they had 2 months to do it, et cetera, et cetera. Crowing. I knew everything about it. Yes, I was involved in it. And then when he realized it was going poorly, because right here, give me 1 second, man. I'm coming to you like in 1 minute. When Donald Trump realized, or before he realized it was going poorly, he put out stuff like this. 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance. Whoa, sounds like you're crowing. Where's plausible deniability? Huh? What happened to that? Because there was no plausible deniability. Israel is the U.S. proxy, period. And they are doing nothing without U.S. will, money, bullets, guns, and all the stuff behind it. When Trump realized, oh my God, this is going poorly. This isn't going as well as I thought it would go. The U.S. had nothing to do with the attack on Iran tonight. If we are attacked in any way, shape, or form by Iran, the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces will come down to you at levels never seen before. However, we can easily get a deal done. This goofball, this whack job, the dumbest man possibly on the face of the earth is now claiming that he still wants a deal. Ain't that special? Ain't that special? Good luck with that. Good luck with that.